Welcome to Retro Celeb Talk, where we dig up the real stories behind the posters, the scandals behind the smiles, and the truths your favorite stars never told David Letterman. If it's juicy, forgotten, or flat out unbelievable, we're bringing it back. Let's jump in. It's 2024, and Pamela Anderson steps onto the red carpet for the premiere of her latest film, looking every bit the icon she was 3 decades ago, but with a twist. No makeup, no filters, just raw, unapologetic confidence that turns heads for all the right reasons. At 57, she's not chasing the spotlight, it's chasing her. She's turned down multi-million-dollar offers to revisit her past, poured her heart into a cookbook that earned a James Beard nomination, and even taken Broadway by storm with a role that had critics raving. But here's the question that's been bubbling up in interviews and fan chats alike. Why did she walk away from the role that made her a global sensation, Baywatch, at the peak of its fame? Not just any exit, but one shrouded in whispers of burnout, backstage battles, and a fierce pull towards something deeper. Pamela's finally opening up about it in ways she never has before, peeling back layers on the family sacrifices, the hidden toll of that iconic red swimsuit, and the shadows cast by her co-star, David Hasselhoff, who held the reins as both leading man and executive producer. This isn't the glossy recap you've seen 100 times. It's the untold side, the pressures that simmered behind the slow-motion runs, the personal costs that fame glossed over, and how, even now, those choices echo in her triumphant comeback. Stick around, because what started as a dream gig quickly unraveled into a wake-up call that redefined her entire life. And trust me, by the end, you'll see why leaving wasn't just an end, it was her boldest beginning. Picture the late 1980s. A 21-year-old from a tiny town on Vancouver Island is sitting in the stands at a Canadian football game when the stadium camera lands on her. The crowd starts chanting, the image hits the Jumbotron, and overnight, Pamela Anderson becomes the most famous face nobody can name yet. Labatt's Beer hires her on the spot as their Blue Zone girl. Billboards go up everywhere, and within months, Playboy comes calling. She moves to Los Angeles, shoots her first cover in October 1989, and suddenly she's on the fastest track in Hollywood. That's when Baywatch enters the picture. The show had just been canceled by NBC after 1 season and was being resurrected in first-run syndication with David Hasselhoff as the driving force. He was the star, the executive producer, and the guy who had final say on almost everything. When producers suggested bringing in Pamela to replace a departing cast member and boost the show's sex appeal, Hasselhoff pushed back hard. He wanted Baywatch to stay a family show, and in his mind, a Playboy playmate didn't fit the image. Word is he told the team straight up, "We're lifeguards saving lives, not pinups on the beach." But the test footage changed everything. The second Pamela stepped onto the sand in that red one-piece, the energy was electric. The camera loved her, the crew loved her, and even Hasselhoff had to admit the chemistry was undeniable. Against his initial instincts, she was hired for season 3 in 1992 as C.J. Parker, the sweet, athletic lifeguard with the megawatt smile. Ratings exploded. Baywatch went from struggling to the most-watched show on the planet, hitting over 1 billion viewers a week in 140 countries at its peak. Pamela wasn't just a cast member, she became the face everyone associated with the series. And for a while, it felt like the fairy tale was real. Little did she know, the same spotlight that lifted her up was already starting to tighten like a vice. Because behind the glamour, the paychecks were tiny, the hours were brutal, and the man who once fought to keep her off the show was now the one calling most of the shots about how much of her the world got to see. By 1993, Baywatch wasn't just a job for Pamela, it was a full-body endurance test. They filmed on freezing beaches before sunrise, sprinting through waves that left bruises, holding poses in that red swimsuit while the crew sprayed baby oil to make skin glisten under the California sun. Pamela later said the physical demands were so intense that cast members would collapse in their trailers between takes. And the pay? Embarrassingly low. She started at around $3,500 an episode, while David Hasselhoff, star and executive producer, was pulling in closer to $100,000 per episode, plus back-end profits. Other male leads like David Charvet and Parker Stevenson were also earning far more. Pamela felt it every time she opened a paycheck. Then there were the relationships. Pamela has been open in recent years that the set was basically a pressure cooker of attraction. Long hours, tiny costumes, adrenaline from stunts, things happened. She dated David Charvet, who played Matt Brody, for years, and there were quiet hookups with other co-stars too. Nothing scandalous by today's standards, but back then the tabloids feasted on every rumor. Crew members whispered that certain cast members got preferential treatment, better schedules, more lines, extra close-ups, depending on who they were close with off-camera. Pamela insists it was all consensual and lighthearted, but the imbalance was impossible to ignore. The bigger strain, though, was the constant focus on her body. Producers openly told her the slow-motion running shots were the reason half the planet tuned in. Every magazine cover, every interview, every autograph session reduced her to the same 3 words: blonde, bombshell, Baywatch. She started to feel like scenery instead of an actress, and when she gently asked for deeper storylines for CJ, the response was usually a polite smile and a reminder that the formula was working just fine. Still, she stuck it out for 5 seasons, smiling through the exhaustion because the fame felt like security, until one explosive personal crisis blew the lid off everything and forced the world to see Pamela Anderson as more than just the girl in the red swimsuit. In 1995, Pamela's whirlwind marriage to Motley Crue drummer Tommy Lee was still the stuff of rock and roll legend. They'd met on New Year's Eve, got married 4 days later on a Cancun beach with her in a white bikini and him covered in new tattoos spelling her name. But 6 months later, a private honeymoon tape the couple had filmed for themselves disappeared from their Malibu home. When bootleg copies started circulating, it became the first celebrity sex tape to go truly viral, before viral was even a word for that. The fallout hit Baywatch like a tidal wave. David Hasselhoff and the other producers immediately called an emergency meeting. Sources who were on the lot say Hasselhoff was furious. He believed the tape destroyed the family-friendly image he'd spent years protecting. There were serious discussions about writing C.J. Parker out permanently, even killing the character off in a shark attack or drowning storyline. Pamela was called in and told point-blank that her personal life was now jeopardizing the entire show. She was 28, newly pregnant with her first child, and terrified she was about to lose everything she'd worked for. Then something unexpected happened. Ratings for the episodes that aired right after the scandal broke went through the roof. Suddenly, every guy on the planet who hadn't been watching Baywatch was tuning in, hoping for, well, you know what they were hoping for. The same producers who wanted her gone a week earlier now realized the controversy was pure rocket fuel. They kept her on, but the damage behind the scenes was done. Pamela felt humiliated, judged by people she'd worked with for years, and painfully aware that her body was once again the only thing anyone wanted to talk about. She powered through the rest of that season and the next, hiding her growing baby bump under oversized lifeguard jackets and giving interviews where she tried to laugh it off. But inside, something cracked. The job that once felt like a dream now felt like a cage, and the arrival of her son Brandon in June 1996 made one thing crystal clear: she wasn't willing to keep paying the price anymore. By the start of season 8 in 1997, Pamela was 29, a mom of 2 little boys. Brandon was 1, Dylan was just a few months old, and completely burned out. She was still showing up at 5 in the morning to run on the beach in 40-degree water while cameras rolled, still smiling for the posters that sold millions. But inside, she felt hollow. In her memoir, she wrote that every time she put on that red one-piece, she felt like she was putting on armor that didn't fit anymore. The constant comments about her chest, the jokes from talk show hosts, the way fans shouted lines at her in grocery stores, it all started to feel like she was trapped inside a character she never really got to play. Money was another raw nerve. Baywatch was now the most watched television show in the world, yet she was still earning less than some of the newer male cast members. When she asked for a raise that would bring her closer to fair, the answer came back cold. Take it or we'll replace you. They even auditioned actresses in secret and shot test footage of potential CJ replacements running down the beach. Pamela found out, and it crushed her. She later said those months were the first time she ever felt truly disposable in Hollywood. The final straw came when she realized her babies were growing up without her. Tommy was on tour half the year, nannies were raising the boys, and she was missing first steps and first words because she was stuck on a freezing beach pretending to save fake drowning victims. In interviews years later, she got emotional, remembering how Dylan would cry when she left for work and how Brandon started calling the nanny Mama by accident. That broke something in her. She walked into the producer's office, told them she was done after season 8, and refused every pleading phone call that came after. No amount of money, no promise of more episodes or spin-offs could make her stay. Walking away looked like career suicide to everyone else. Baywatch was still printing money, and no actress had ever left at the absolute peak. But Pamela knew if she didn't choose her family right then, she might never get another chance. And while the world assumed she'd ride that wave forever, the years that followed proved just how high the cost of staying really would have been. 1997. Pamela Anderson, age 30, walks off the Baywatch set for the last time and straight into what she thought would be freedom. Instead, she found silence. No more daily call sheets, no more screaming fans at the gate, just 2 toddlers, a chaotic marriage, and a phone that suddenly stopped ringing the way it used to. Hollywood punished her hard. The same industry that begged her to stay now treated her like yesterday's news. Movie scripts dried up unless the role was sexy neighbor or hot ex-wife. She took what came. Barbed Wire had already flopped, and the offers that followed were worse. For years, she later described feeling invisible unless she was willing to lean into the caricature everyone expected. She tried reality shows, guest spots, even a Canadian sitcom, but nothing stuck the way Baywatch had. Depression settled in deep. In quiet moments, she'd admit she sometimes wondered if leaving had been the biggest mistake of her life. Then the marriage to Tommy imploded. Public fights, arrests, court dates, custody battles. By 2003, she was a single mom raising 2 boys, while the tabloids tore her apart for everything from her clothes to her parenting. She moved them from Los Angeles to Vancouver Island, back to the same quiet beaches where she'd grown up, hoping the ocean air would wash some of the pain away. For almost a decade, she barely worked. She gardened, baked, drove the kids to hockey practice, and told herself this slower life was the prize she'd fought for. But something shifted around the pandemic. Locked down on that same island with her boys now teenagers, Pamela started writing. Pages and pages, at first just for herself. Then those pages became her memoir, Love, Pamela, and the Netflix documentary that followed in 2023. For the first time, she told the full story in her own words. No publicist filter, no late-night host jokes. Fans saw the woman behind the posters, the small-town girl who got swallowed by fame, the mother who chose diapers over dollar signs, the survivor who was finally ready to reclaim the narrative. That vulnerability lit a spark. Suddenly, directors saw her differently. Gia Coppola cast her in The Last Showgirl, a quiet, devastating role that earned her a Golden Globe nomination and standing ovations. Broadway called with Chicago. She cooked her grandmother's recipes for a cookbook that made the James Beard list. And when the makeup companies came running with 8-figure deals, she turned up at premieres bare-faced, daring the world to look at the real 57-year-old woman and still call her irrelevant. She'd spent 25 years running from the shadow of that red swimsuit. Now she was finally stepping into a light that was entirely her own. But even today, with all the applause and the sold-out shows, there's one question she still gets asked in every interview. So here we are, almost 30 years later, and Pamela Anderson is finally telling the full story of why she walked away from Baywatch at the absolute top. It wasn't one single moment, it was 1,000 little cuts. The freezing dawn shoots that left her bruised and shivering. The paychecks that never reflected what she brought to the show. The producers who auditioned her replacement in secret while smiling to her face. The heartbreak of missing her baby's first everything because a schedule said she had to run in slow motion one more time. And yes, the lingering tension with David Hasselhoff, the man who once tried to keep her off the beach and then built an empire on the ratings she helped deliver. She could have stayed, cashed in, become the lifelong queen of syndication checks and nostalgia tours. Instead, at 29, she chose dirty diapers and school runs over global fame, and Hollywood made her pay for it for 2 decades. But look at her now, 57, barefaced, Golden Globe nominated, Broadway tested, cookbook selling, turning down the exact Baywatch reboot offers that would have made 30-year-old Pamela cry with relief. She's living proof that sometimes the bravest thing an icon can do is disappear long enough to remember who she actually is. And the craziest part? After everything, the scandal, the exile, the reinvention, she says she has 0 regrets about leaving, not one. Because every first step her boys took, every quiet morning on Vancouver Island, every page she wrote when the world stopped calling, those were the moments that gave her back the life fame almost stole. So maybe the real revelation isn't why Pamela Anderson left Baywatch. Maybe it's that walking away was the role she was born to play. If this story hit you the way it hit me, smash that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think she made the right call back in '97? And subscribe to Retro Celeb Talk so you never miss the next deep dive into the lives Hollywood tried to forget. Hit the bell, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next one.